In this valley, no farmer will plant a single seed until the water itself has been blessed. Because here, water is never treated as a resource to be owned. It is a living spirit you are only allowed to borrow. It is just past dawn in the central highlands of Bali. The air is heavy and cool, carrying the scent of damp soil, crushed ferns, and the sweet, lingering smoke of burning coconut husks from a distant kitchen fire. The mist is still clinging to the ridges of the valley, hiding the peaks of the volcanoes that watch over the island. Listen closely to the quiet of the morning. Beneath the early calls of birds and the rustling of palm fronds in the wind, there is a constant, steady sound underneath everything. It is the sound of water moving. It does not crash or roar. It trickles, it breathes, it spills over mud walls and drops softly from one carved level of green earth to the next. Standing here, looking out over thousands of terraced steps that curve naturally along the shape of the mountain, you do not feel as though you are looking at agriculture. You feel as though you are looking at a giant, living lung, slowly breathing in and out with the passing of the sun. A man walks barefoot along a very narrow dirt path, balancing a woven basket on his shoulder. He stops where a small stream of water divides into two different directions. He bends down, gently places a small folded palm leaf, holding bright flowers onto a moss-covered stone, and quietly dips his fingers into the running water. In a modern world where land is divided by strict borders, where nature is optimized for profit, and where water is constantly bought and sold, how does a 1,000-year-old society built entirely on absolute trust and shared water continue to keep this island alive? Welcome to Culture Journey. Today, we are walking far away from the busy coastal roads and the crowded beaches of the south. We are moving upward into the quiet interior of Bali, where time moves differently and where the rhythm of human life is entirely bound to the rhythm of the rains. We are stepping into the world of the Subak. To outsiders, the Subak is often described simply as an ancient irrigation system that creates the beautiful rice terraces tourists love to photograph. But to understand the people of this island, we have to look past the beautiful scenery. Because the Subak is not an engineering technique. It is a deeply complex, living philosophy of human survival, memory, and spiritual devotion. As we walk along these mud paths today, we are going to see how an invisible web of water connects every single person on this mountain, demanding a level of cooperation that most of us living in the modern world have completely forgotten. This is Pak Maid. He is a Pakase, which is the elected head of this specific local Subak community. His hands are stained with dark earth, and his skin carries the memory of decades spent walking under the equatorial sun. He moves with a quiet, unhurried grace, holding a long wooden staff that he uses to clear fallen leaves from the narrow irrigation canals. Maid does not own the water that flows past his feet. Nobody does. When we sit with him on the edge of a wooden pavilion overlooking the valley, he explains that his job is not merely to distribute water to the farmers. His job is to manage harmony. He is guided by a local philosophy known as Tri Hita Karana. It teaches that life only works when three things are in balance: the relationship between humans and the divine, humans and nature, and humans with each other. Maid acts as a quiet mediator between all three. If a farmer at the bottom of the valley does not have enough water to flood his field, Maid must walk up the mountain and ask the farmers above to open their wooden gates a little wider. And they always do. They do this not because of a written law, but because of a shared understanding that their survival is deeply bound together. Watching him stand ankle-deep in the mud, carefully adjusting a bamboo pipe to ensure his neighbor receives exactly the right amount of flow, you begin to realize that farming here is an act of profound social empathy. As we continue walking through the terraces, you might notice small stone shrines scattered throughout the fields. Some are elaborate and carved, while others are just simple stones wrapped in white and yellow cloth, sitting quietly at the edge of the water. It is easy to assume these are simply places for private prayer. But if you look closely at where they are placed, something remarkable reveals itself. These shrines always sit exactly at the points where the water channels divide. The spiritual architecture of Bali is actually a map of the water system. The local water temples are not just places of worship. They are agricultural control centers. While the priests inside these temples set the spiritual calendar, it is the farmers themselves who gather in democratic councils to agree on exactly when the water should be released, when the fields should be flooded, and when the planting should begin. While modern meteorological forecasts now exist on their smartphones, the true rhythm of the planting season is still governed by something much older. They rely on the traditional calendar, the phases of the moon, and centuries of inherited memory. The physical flow of water is entirely regulated by the timing of religious rituals. The ceremony is the schedule. When the wooden bells of the temple ring across the valley, the farmers know it is time to open the gates. We walk further down into a section of the valley where the rice is already tall, swaying gently like a green ocean in the afternoon wind. It feels peaceful here, but farming is always a battle against nature. Mice, insects, and birds constantly threaten to destroy months of hard work. In most parts of the world, farmers use chemical pesticides to protect their individual crops. But the Subak relies on something much more complex. They rely on absolute synchrony. Made explains that the farmers in his Subak are entirely forbidden from planting whenever they want to. If one farmer decides to plant his rice a month earlier than everyone else, his field will be the only one with fresh green shoots. Every rat and insect in the valley will rush to his specific field and destroy it completely. Instead, the entire valley must act as one single organism. They flood the fields together. They plant the seeds on the exact same day. They harvest together. And most importantly, they leave the fields empty and dry at the exact same time. By leaving the entire valley bare for a few weeks, they intentionally break the life cycle of the pests. With nothing left to eat, the insect and mouse populations naturally collapse. But this delicate system relies on absolute participation. A single selfish decision upstream could wipe out the harvest for hundreds of families below. In the Subak, community trust is not just a gentle moral suggestion. It is the biological foundation of their survival. We stop to rest under the shade of a massive banyan tree, its thick roots wrapping around the ancient stone walls of a small temple. The silence here is profound. You can hear the wind moving through the grass and the distant laugh of a farmer talking to his son across the water. Yet standing in this quiet peace, a strange realization washes over you. The island is not trapped in the past, but it is holding a delicate balance. Just a few miles away from this quiet rhythm, the coastal towns of Bali are overwhelmed by the roar of traffic, the construction of luxury villas, and the restless speed of international tourism. Tourists travel from all over the world to look at these terraced hills, seeking peace, slow living, and connection. They take photographs of the green fields and marvel at the beauty of the landscape. But the paradox is that this awe-inspiring beauty is incredibly fragile. Every time a new concrete hotel is built upstream, it changes the flow of the underground springs. Every time a young person leaves the village for a more lucrative job in the city, the human chain of the Subak loses a vital link. The fast-moving, hyper-modern world of tourism depends heavily on the visual beauty of these fields, yet its very presence threatens the slow, quiet agreements that keep this ancient water flowing. To truly understand the weight of this system, we have to look up toward the clouds. Made points his wooden staff toward the dark silhouette of the volcano rising in the north. He tells us that the water passing over our feet right now did not begin here. It began at Lake Batur, a massive crater lake high up in the mountains. The Balinese believe this lake is the home of Dewi Danu, the goddess of water. At the edge of the lake sits the supreme water temple, where the high priest collects the holy water and blesses its journey downward. From that single mountain lake, the water flows into rivers, then splits into smaller streams, then divides into the local Subak canals, and finally enters the mud of Maid's tiny field before eventually returning to the sea. This means that every single farmer on this island is physically and spiritually linked by the exact same continuous flow of water. If the farmers high on the mountain take too much, the farmers near the sea will starve. The Subak is a profound realization that nobody exists in isolation. Every drop of water you use has passed through the hands of someone above you and must be cleanly passed to the hands of someone below you. Standing beside the flowing canal, feeling the cool water brush against the green shoots of rice, it becomes difficult not to think about the way we structure our own lives. It is hard to imagine our daily survival depending entirely on the honesty and restraint of the people living around us. In our own cities and towns, we celebrate complete independence. We build walls, we sign contracts, and we measure our success by how little we have to rely on anyone else. But watching the Subak function, you begin to wonder whether our modern pursuit of total individual freedom has actually cost us something incredibly vital. It makes you wonder what it would feel like to know, deeply and physically, that your life is completely woven into the lives of your neighbors. You have to ask yourself whether that interconnected reliance would bring you anxiety or a profound sense of belonging. The late afternoon sun begins to lower behind the palm trees. The intense bright green of the terraces slowly turns to gold, and the shadows stretch long across the muddy water. The birds become quiet, and the rhythmic, deep sounds of frogs begin to echo across the valley. Maid finishes his work for the day. He washes his hands and feet in the cool running water of the canal, splashing his face once before wiping it with a cloth. He looks out over the valley with a quiet, tired contentment. He is not just a farmer growing food. He is a caretaker of a philosophy. He is maintaining a conversation with the water, with the gods, and with his community that has been ongoing for over 1,000 years. As long as people like him continue to place flowers on the stone shrines, and as long as they continue to share the water fairly, the island will survive. The Subak is not about controlling nature. It is about learning how to participate in it with grace. As the evening sky turns purple and the mist slowly begins to roll back down from the mountains, the valley grows dark. But even in the pitch black of night, you can still hear the water. It continues to flow, over the stones, through the bamboo pipes, down the terraces, uninterrupted by the darkness. It is a beautiful reminder that some of the greatest and most enduring human achievements are not made of concrete or steel or stone monuments. They are made of invisible shared agreements. They are made of quiet prayers in the morning mud. They are made of the simple, profound act of passing life from one hand to another, ensuring that there is always enough for everyone. Thank you for walking beside me today on this journey through the highlands. If this quiet walk through the rice terraces brought you peace, or if it made you think differently about community and the way we share the world with one another, I gently invite you to subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who appreciates the slow, beautiful traditions that still exist in our world. Leave a comment below and tell me what part of the Subak philosophy speaks to you the most. Let us continue to discover the world slowly together. Until next time.